Hey everybody, welcome back to the Multipliers Leadership Podcast. Man, I am so excited to be back with you today. Man, we are going to have a lot of fun as we jump into a brand new series on joy. We're coming in hot, feeling good today as we continue as the Multipliers Leadership Podcast to be a place where kingdom leaders like you are equipped to live and to lead from the inside out. My name is Joseph Elder, and I am excited to be able to kick this series off with you, where I believe that it'll blow a fresh wind into your soul and into your leadership to where you can function and flow out of joy in your life. And that's why we're calling this series Rooted in Joy, Leading from the Overflow. And today's episode is called Joy is a Person, Not a Perk. Here's the reality. Some of us have already said joy is for other people. But I'll tell you this, is that joy is for all of us. And it's not just for the naive. It's not just for those that just have that personality. Joy is for all of us. And we can all have access to it with the Lord. And I believe that for you. I believe that for me as well. Let me ask us to start everything off, the hard question. And that is simply, when's the last time you had joy? Real joy. Not like a fleeting moment of, yeah, I was joyous as I watched the movie and it was funny, or my kid, they won the award, or that thing happened at work, whatever the thing is. Not a fleeting moment, but like, when have you had like deep soul level joy? The kind that anchors you even when the metrics of life, they don't seem to add up. When your team is tired, your kids are crazy, when nothing's going according to plan, can you have joy then? If you're anything like most leaders, or even myself, like especially when nothing's going according to plan, some days I'm great with going with the flow. I'm going to be good. Everything's great. But there's other days where I struggle with this. And I know that often the first thing to fade under pressure or frustration or anything that could be lacking is a lot of times joy is one of the first things to go. Because somewhere along the way, we've started to believe this lie from the enemy that says that joy is a byproduct of success. And that's just not the case. That we can only have joy after the breakthrough, after the win, after the applause, after we get this thing done. But Jesus offers something so different. In John 15, this is right as he goes through, if you abide in me and I abide in you, you will bear much fruit. He goes through all that process, and then he says in John 15:11, he says, I've told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. He's not offering us a feeling. He's offering us the very joy of the Lord. And not just a little bit, but he says for our joy to be complete, so full, like where we lack nothing. He's offering us not just the feeling of joy, but he's offering us himself. Because Jesus is the very source of joy. I mean, here's the shift for us. Joy isn't something that we strive for, but it's someone you stay with. Jesus doesn't say, work hard and I'll reward you with joy. Now, it also doesn't say, do nothing and then you'll get joy. Just as a follower of Jesus, you just have joy. But there's something to be said about being able to fight or to cultivate a heart or time with the Lord that produces joy. But it's by proximity. He says, abide in me and my joy will abide in you. Cause, effect. The word abide is everything. It's this picture of remaining or staying close. It's just like what we've been talking about in the series of Silence and Solitude that we're just coming off of. It's dwelling with the Lord. Before joy is ever expressed outwardly, true joy, not just like being happy, it's received inwardly. It's received through connection, not performance with God. So many of us, we lead like joy as a fuel we have to like manufacture. If we just do better, pray more, pray harder, lead stronger, I've got to read my Bible more, I've got to do this more, I've got to go to church more. But Jesus flips that completely and says joy doesn't flow from like momentum of just doing a bunch of Christian type things. It flows from the proximity with the Lord. The closer we are to him, the more we live in the overflow of his joy, not just our own strength. Unfortunately, I find this as a gap for many churches and followers of Jesus. And I remember I grew up in the church, and as a teenager, I encountered so many churchgoers who are boring, unhappy people. And I did not want anything to do with that. Where oftentimes I'd find personal preferences of life, of church. They were often the target of whatever their passion is over abiding with the Almighty. See, joy isn't just for us. It's for those around us too. And could it be that this is part of the lid to our faith and to those around us? Is that we're focused on the wrong things. We get focused on all the things that are trivial, that don't matter, when Jesus is like, just abide in me and let me give you the type of joy that you need in your life. I mean, I don't find the get off my lawn type of people leading people to Jesus. But what I do find is that those who abide in the shadow of the Almighty, as the Psalm says, those who truly abide with the Lord and have joy, people can't help but say, how do you have so much joy in your life? So if you've been leading on fumes, if joy feels like a distant memory instead of like a daily reality, like I had that when I was a kid, can I just gently ask you, where have you been looking for joy apart from Jesus? Where have you been trying to be satisfied in a way that only Jesus can satisfy? Has it been tied to your productivity, to the praise of others, to the results you're trying to control? It's so easy to attach our joy to outcomes. But Jesus says you can find true joy, and that's only with intimacy with me. Because no matter what season you're in, whether you're standing in the breakthrough season where, man, things are rocking and rolling and it's so good, or maybe you're just walking through burnout, you have access to joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. Why? Because joy is a person, and his name is Jesus, and you have access to abide with Jesus. I was on a call earlier this morning with pastors and leaders from across the globe, everywhere from Pakistan, India, Peru, Kenya, and many of the leaders that are on this call are facing significant obstacles as they bring the gospel to their area of the world. Some who are actively receiving death threats, and yet there's still this joy that they carry. Because joy is fought for through cultivating a dependency on God. And it's a challenge for many of us is that especially here in the States, is that we don't feel like our circumstances actually need God. And so we don't have a reason to cultivate an abiding type of lifestyle. But for these leaders, the challenge of life, it takes them to their knees. So there's no other option other than to abide with Jesus. And that's where true joy comes from. But here in the States, have we become so self-dependent that we don't need to actually be on our knees praying and spending time with the Lord? I think many of us, we just don't have joy because we're not abiding, and we don't see our need for Jesus day in and day out. So here's your invitation this week. Don't try to generate joy. Draw near to it. Spend time with the one who is joy. There's an invitation for each of us to be anchored in the presence of the Lord, to lead from the overflow. So as we wrap our time today, let's keep multiplying, not just the work you do, but the life you carry. If this encouraged you, share it with another leader. Don't forget to subscribe on all the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and stay connected with us that way. And we cannot wait to be able to see you again next week as Josh Folliard jumps in with us. I'm Joseph Elder. Thanks for listening to the Multipliers Leadership Podcast today.